Welcome to another exciting edition of American Warrior Radio, the place to be for news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues military and veteran related. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or National Guard or Reserves, you've come to the right place. American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, and online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com, sponsored by AVET Project. Folks, this program is all about supporting our troops and their families, both past and present. So please, get comfortable, grab a nice beverage. It's a little chilly out there today. Maybe you want some coffee or tea, whatever you like. But also, while you're up, don't forget a pen and paper, because we're always efforting to bring you important information that you can use and share with others. With that said, let's roll down the runway and get this show off the ground. You all know me, I'm Garen Cohn. I'm an Air Force veteran, a retired legal advocate for veterans, and founder of AVET Project. But you also know that I never fly through the airwaves alone.
Good morning, I'm Glenn McGuffey. I'm retired from the Air Force, and I'm also the retired manager of the Brevard County Veteran Services team, where it was my honor to help our veterans and their eligible family members gain the benefits earned through service to our country in the never world of VA benefits, where if you don't get some qualified help, good luck to you. Because it's, in my words, it's the if and or but world of VA benefits. So we, as usual, have a great show for you today. Let me preempt any announcement Garen might make and let you know, because I was signed up for today. We're not flying in the helicopter today. So
Dang
if you signed up for that, no matter how intrepid you are, they're not flying today.
No, we had to cancel that because of the weather, and even tomorrow's Beachside Helicopters has advised us that it's best we don't do it. And Glenn, I'm glad you brought that up, because we had a pretty good response, and we appreciate everybody that registered. And we didn't do a rain date, because I really was hoping, earlier in the week when we saw the weather forecast, everything's going to be great. But nevertheless, we've got all you folks. I know Gary from Beachside Helicopters, and you can still reach him at 406-0406, but he's contacted everybody. You got a message from him.
Correct.
And we'll reschedule, because we want you to have a really fun experience. It's not a lot of money. It's a fun, F-U-N, a fundraiser for AVET Project. We want everybody to have a good time.
Oh, absolutely, and it'll be a great experience. We just get the weather to cooperate with us.
Exactly, and that's coming down the road. I promise it's got to happen. And along with that announcement, I want to get a quick shout out for the surf adventure that's coming up on March 19th. It's the inaugural Operation Surf Cocoa Beach on March 19th through the 25th. The website, if you're interested, you can always go to avetproject.org, check out our website and Facebook page. There's lots of good information there. But you can also check out, you can write this down, amazingsurfadventure.org/get involved. But go to AVET Project's Facebook page, American Warrior Radio's Facebook page, Veterans Benefits Facebook page. It's all there. But it's going to be an awesome opportunity for people to come out and support our wounded warriors. And aside from that, we've got our awesome guest. He's here with us every month now for Heal the Warrior, Heal the Country. But before we get to him, before I introduce that, I also want to say, and this is a nice thing, Glenn, AVET Project was approved for a grant.
Excellent.
For Military Kids Go Fishing. And we're going to have details on this, but we've got a bunch of fishing equipment through Fish Florida. All right, so hats off to those folks. They recognize the important work that AVET Project is doing, and we always want to promote those that support and sponsor AVET Project here on American Warrior Radio. And as well as the Harper family. I mean, my gosh, John and Vern, in their continual support of AVET Project and our effort to help the troops here on American Warrior Radio. Hats off to you guys too. It's amazing. We've got a great show, all right? Every last weekend of every month, we're going to have this new segment. You've already had one installment. This is installment number 2, baby. It's called Heal the Warrior, Heal the Country. So without any further ado, we'll get to the Secretary McDonald stuff. I know you guys have been crying out. A lot of you are upset. We'll do that during the second segment of the program. But Vince, cue that music. With us in studio is Dr. Scott Fairchild. You know him, Baytree Behavioral Health, career Army man, and he's here every month now with Heal the Country, Heal the Warrior. Sir, thank you so much for being here and spending some time on American Warrior Radio.
Garen, Glenn, what an honor it is to be here and share some thoughts with the community and hopefully provide some support that can help our young warriors and some of our not so young warriors come on in and get some support and get some services. So as Soldier Hard said, it's a long road to recovery. If anyone down that road tells you that PTSD is curable or go away, it's time to keep walking down that road, but we can learn how to manage those symptoms. And we can
Before
make
we
a
get
big
there, though,
difference.
you had some announcements, too, about events going on today.
Well, there are some things going on today that support our warriors. There's a Friends for Animal Sanctuary get-together today, Come Rain or Come Shine. And this is a movement to make Brevard a no-kill county. Now you say, how does that tie into veterans? Well, you know, you can go on down there today for the meet and greet, Come Rain or Come Shine. It's right down on Wickham in the 5000 block right by the Home Depot from 11 to 3. They've got a whole bunch of things there. They've got a food cart, the submarine food cart. They've got the yellow submarine food cart. They've got a sidewalk sale, and they actually have pets for adoption. Now you say, why would I want to adopt one of those pets? Well, you pick up one of those pets down there, say for example, a nice dog from down there, and you take them on over and you see Crystal at Paws for Veterans, another great organization that actually trains the dogs to be service dogs and therapy dogs.
And they're doing great work at Paws for Veterans. Hi, Crystal.
Great work out there, and we have so many people whose symptoms are eased. You know, this is life-saving work. If you go to Paws for Veterans, their website at pawsforveterans.com, you will see a Marine talking about how his dog, when he was holding his pistol and about ready to call it quits, how his dog kept jumping up on his lap, and his dog actually saved his life. So it's so important to realize these symptoms can be eased. You know, 22 veterans a day committing suicide. These animals make a difference. These animals can intervene when they're having a panic attack and calm them down. These dogs can bring you your medicines. They can be a crutch for when you get up, you know, helping you get up. They can pick up your wallet if you drop it. They can be between you and other crowd members to give you some sense of protection. They can be your best friend. And so a big shout out to Friends for Animal Sanctuary today in their meet and greet from 11 to 3 down by Home Depot on Wickham, as well as to Crystal at Paws for Veterans. We appreciate the great work that she does, and congratulations on that new little one in her home.
Exactly, exactly. But we love dogs, Glenn. We got Boaz and Coave at Projects Therapy Dogs.
Yeah, and I got a German Shepherd who's part crazy, so but I tell you what, you'd have to be flipped out on crack cocaine to think you were ever going to break in my house. So
That's right.
That's my buddy.
That's it. And I have Camo, who's a rescue Cocker Spaniel, and I think I just have to give him therapy. That's how it goes.
Sometimes it goes the other way around.
Sometimes it does. But we're so happy to be here, and today I thought we might talk a little bit. You know, we've talked about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and all the symptoms it causes, the nightmares, the avoidance, you know, the cold sweats at night, the irritability, the anger, the frustration. In fact, we talk about it as, we give it a name, because sometimes PTSD is like an uninvited guest in your house. You know, you're living there and all of a sudden this guest pops up, does some crazy things, and I tell that to our veterans so that they realize that, you know, the spouses are like, you know, this isn't my husband, this is PTSD. So we encourage them to give him a name. You know, they can call him Mr. PTSD. One of them calls him Mr. Diablo. I think that's the devil. And another ones have some even less savory names for him. But that way you can kind of separate the person from their PTSD, which is so important.
Exactly. And another topic that you wanted to speak to or delve into is the moral aspects of how PTSD and combat service affects our warriors.
Well, it's amazing, and you'll see a lot of shifts right now to talking about the moral aspects of war and the moral injuries. You know, obviously PTSD has been around for a while. I was kind of proud to be there at the beginning of it when a couple of my colleagues at the University of Denver wrote actually the first book published by the American Legion on PTSD. And now you could probably fill many, many rooms. In fact, you could probably fill a gymnasium with a number of books that are written on PTSD. But they talked about it as it pertained to their Vietnam experiences. And now David Wood, a great author, if you look him up, is writing articles about the warrior's moral dilemma and the things that combat warriors have to do. So many of us back here in our warm living rooms and comfortable apartments don't realize what our young men have had and women have had to go through and what they bring back. Back to what one great songwriter from Canada writes a song, if you look it up online, called the Hometown Battlefield. And it's so true that there is a hometown battlefield that they bring all of this stuff back to, and it's the silent wound that hides inside their mind.
Exactly, and the thing about it is, folks, they get a bad rap because, gosh, if you're identified as having PTSD, Glenn, then there must be something, you're defective, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know, it's like it was back when it was a little bit rampant in the post office, and everybody talked about going postal, and, you know, I think there's way too many people who have a lack of understanding, proper understanding of PTSD, and if they find out somebody has PTSD, they don't want to hire them, or if they're working there, they want to get rid of them. It's a bad scene because I know more than I should, I guess, people with PTSD who are excellent workers and excellent members of the team and embody all those things that you get from people from the military that, you know, like a general said once, I'll never forget, he says, you know, and they'll show up on time.
Yeah, that's showing up is a big part of it. And our citizen warriors, the men and women in the Guard and Reserve that deploy and come back and hopefully keep their jobs when they come back and stuff, like you said, Doc, that doesn't mean they may leave this country going to an imminent danger area or a combat zone. When they come back, they bring some extra stuff with them.
They certainly do. And in fact, I'll never forget, I was on a panel in support of philanthropy and support of veterans, and I'll never forget the day there was a fine Marine sitting next to me who was in charge of a number of those projects, and he said, you know, he said, thank you all. We appreciate the jumbotron moments and the time up on, being honored at the ball games and the like. He said, but really, he said, you have depended upon us to defend your country. You have put your faith in us, and we all have skills. And what we want most of all as veterans is we want to come back and reintegrate. We want to be recognized for our leadership skills. We want to be recognized for our abilities and the things we can do, and welcome back in so that we can become a part of the fiber of the community. And that's what is so important. I know Robert Tick actually indicated, Edward Tick actually, indicated that the degree to which veterans have severe PTSD is directly related to the way in which the community welcomes home their warriors. So we as a community out there, I implore each and every one of you to surround these warriors, to thank them, to lift them up for the job they did for you.
Well, and you mentioned with this segment of Heal the Warrior, Heal the Country, that we're going to talk about the moral aspect of it, because they're going to be burdened for the rest of their lives with the knowledge that something's happened over there that they obviously or may have at least indirectly witnessed or participated in things that the rest of us would find abhorrent, and yet they were simply following orders.
They were simply following orders, and if you look at that song, Hometown Battlefield, that's exactly what you'll see. They followed their orders, they came back home, and this battlefield now continues to go on in their mind. And so many things that they had to do that we wouldn't even realize driving down the road. We just don't realize that when you're in a combat zone, if you stop, you may be dead. And that you have to keep going, irrespective of what else is going on around you. So, just over the past couple weeks, it's troubled me. I've worked with a number of veterans who've had experiences in having to do things that, just one could not imagine, like running over children. You know, the enemy, the enemy actually sends these kids out in the street, forces them to go out there and play chicken with the vehicles, hoping to get the vehicles to stop, and then hoping to attack the warriors. And so, you know, you can't imagine having to run over young children, come back to this country, and then see children and be triggered by it constantly. In fact, we had one of our warriors who said he was pleased that he had little girls, you know, because he was triggered by the little boys he saw.
Exactly, and that's one thing that we have to stress here. We're talking with Dr. Scott Fairchild of Bay Tree Behavioral Health, career Army man, psychologist, clinical psychologist. Glenn, it's important that we get the message out there that even though these men and women, because we include women because they're over there in combat operating areas, when they come back, they have this stuff going on. Like the doc said, they may see children, you know, walking to school or getting off a bus, and it may trigger things. And even the movie American Sniper puts that out there, that this man he had his sights trained on this child that had an IED, and he's got this obvious decision to make. Wow. You know, it's a hot target. So
yeah, you know, back to what the doctor was saying at the beginning of this segment, and that was you sit behind your desk or you're sitting in your living room and you just have, if you've never been in the military, you just have no concept. You cannot even imagine some of the things that go on in combat, and it's not because our soldiers, airmen, and sailors are bad people and just want to go around like a criminal and kill people and beat them up and maim them and what have you. It's because they've been ordered to do that, but that's not an excuse. They've been ordered to do that for the protection of their fellow soldiers, and ultimately what they're doing is, as the doctor said, protecting our country.
That is so true, and in fact, I remember one day a warrior said to me, you know, why did I have to shoot that 14-year-old girl with the backpack? And you know, the answer, sometimes the answers are complex, but in that particular case, it was because, you know, the last 15, 16-year-old person that came up with a backpack exploded and took out his best friend. And so, you know, I always give honor to a senior Navy official who came back, senior Navy person who worked over there in Iraq, and he had a number of young people who worked underneath him. He was a senior chief, and he just came back and he showed me the coin, you know, from his unit, and then he turned it over, and there were 6 names on the back, and he said, "Those are the 6 kids I didn't bring home." And you know, our young adults, you know, I was just listening to a story on the way over where, you know, our brains do not mature until they're about 25, 26 years old. And our young warriors, 18, 19, 20 years old, and these warriors are over there, and I think he just summed it all up. When Jeff said about them, he said, you know, these are my warriors, I didn't bring them home. He said half of them, or more, most of them, he said 6 months ago, they were the young men and women at Publix asking whether you wanted paper or plastic. And now they're having to make life and death decisions in a split second.
And that really does say a lot. And we ask a lot of our young men and women. That's precisely why we want the young men and women to get into the military at such an age, because they are very impressionable. They're going to follow orders, right, Glenn?
Exactly, and it's a young man's game, as one boss I had told me. It's a young man's game, although this last game with pulling the reserves in with a much higher average age group kind of stretched that a little bit, but it is still a young man's game. Fighting in combat is a young man's game because of many reasons: physical fitness, mental dexterity, and that's not the word I'm looking for, but mental capabilities, and it's just tough, and kind of trying to lead back into another topic today, and that's it poses a moral dilemma for people who are raised in America.
It sure does, because we have values. And you know, I was thinking as I was just sitting here as well, for each of you who have been on active duty in the audience, you understand, and it's the moral dilemma on top of all of the other demands. You know, there is no Saturday, there is no Sunday, there is no weekend off. There aren't really many days off, if any days at all. And it's up early, it's practice early, it's PT, it's all of the other demands. It's living in a dirty, stinky, wet, threatening environment with indigenous objects as well, like camel spiders and leeches and snakes. And one person recalled coming around the corner in Vietnam and being face to face with a tiger. So, you know, these things, these are the demands. You know, they're threats from all over. And then having to make decisions that just aren't in concert with what your American moral and ethical values are. And so we are actually about to kick off a group at the request of a number of our veterans, a group that's going to talk about the moral and ethical and spiritual aspects of war, and that's coming up soon.
And we're going to be talking about that, I'm sure. I want to just dovetail into what Glenn was talking, and you also, Doc. You mentioned the brain matures at about by 25 years old. We know they're impressionable young men and women going into the military fresh out of high school, but that component of the Guard and Reserve where they're non-traditional soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine, and the effect it's going to have on them, well, the younger guys and gals, that's going to be cemented in their mind, what the moral dilemmas as we were talking about. And the older folks are going to be fighting their own internal battles as well. So nobody escapes it. But I'm curious, Doc, and you being a clinical psychologist, this term arrested development, particularly going back to the Vietnam era, and we're running out of time here, folks. Can you stay over, Doc?
I'll be happy to.
Awesome. So we're going to wind down here, but I'm going to plant the seed right now. There was a TV show called Arrested Development, and that is a clinical term.
It is.
And we're going to talk about that and some other things. So we've got some other great announcements, so keep your pen and paper handy. All right, go refresh your beverage, that's fine. And just keep in mind that American Warrior Radio is here to bring you the right information all the time. Am I right, Glenn?
Yep, the right information right here. So don't go away and come back and see us in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.